This is a time when we've just heard about a world of agents, and you specialize on the subject of governance and privacy. I want to begin this conversation by understanding from you, for the benefit of all our viewers and those who are here, in a world of agents where perhaps there will be multiple agents working for you and me in the future, what will privacy mean, if at all anything?
Easy question. So, AI agents is probably the most fascinating and interesting area. The idea that, as we just heard, we can have an agent to do things for us, and we can say, book a trip and do this and do that for us. It's incredible. But AI agents bring enormous challenges. And the challenges are not just from a privacy standpoint, because of course, once you start giving an agent access to your wallet, your bank account, what if something goes wrong? What if, for example, from a security and vulnerability standpoint, well, what if your money gets lost? So the challenges around AI agents are very much about security and resilience that have, of course, an impact on the protection of data. So we've got to be really careful about it. And there is also one other element. Agents, they bring together LLMs, all the things that you use on a daily basis, but they really make the challenges much bigger. So, for example, they hallucinate, but it's not just an hallucination like a normal LLM. It's hallucinations that go all the way down and pass from one agent to the other, and so they can become quite risky. So what is the point here that I'm trying to make? Is that we have to build this tool with safety and resilience at the very heart. This is very, very important. And it's very much the heart of this AI summit, isn't it? The heart of this AI summit is about democratization, is about everybody having access, and is about governance. So governance doesn't mean that you stop using AI agents. It's the opposite. It means that you make them so safe that people can use them and trust them. It's not going to be an easy one, but this is where I'm really looking forward to leadership coming from India as well. The leadership I'm after is technically, how are we going to safeguard the data of people through agents? Now, I see young people in the room, and this is a challenge that I would like to throw to the young people and say, come up with security-enhancing technologies, privacy-enhancing technologies, so that we can build this. Now, I do the sort of best job in the world, which is to work with product managers and try to embed all these protections in the design. So I work on how do we design these agents? How do we create the trust stack so that these agents are well designed and people understand them? And for example, I say to them, if the agent has access to particular information, let's escalate it to a human to say yes or no. This is very important because you've got to remain in charge. If the AI agent is going to access something very personal about you, then you may say, well, actually, on this, I am going to ask the owner to say yes or no. So it's all about design, see? Privacy, data protection, security, resilience is all about how we design this tool.
What is the role of creating a governance architecture around this? The reason I ask you this, because you lead this function at one of India's largest information technology companies, and for the benefit of our audience and for our viewers, she's Italian. She lives in Frankfurt, but she works out of a company that is headquartered in Bangalore. So, a global citizen if there was one. But can there be a governance framework for this future world, including whenever, we have super intelligence? Some experts say it's a few years away, somebody says sooner, somebody says later. But in that era, what kind of governance framework can we aspire to?
Yeah. I mean, I think governance is kind of a strange word to an extent, because if I say to you governance, what is the first thing that comes to mind? What is the first word? I mean,
heavy-handed state deciding the rules of what you can do or not do.
Do you agree? See, that's not the case.
Yeah.
So I'm here to really say it's not the case. So when we talk about governance, we talk something else. And I've learned this in my day job. Okay? I come from privacy. And actually, I come from sort of legal background, and then I learned how to code, and I went into the technical stuff. And I'll tell you what I learned on my own skin at Wipro. Okay? I learned that governance of AI has got nothing to do with compliance. It's got nothing to do with the law. It's got nothing to do with risk management. I mean, it's got something to do, but it's not that only. Governance is about making sure that you have long-term innovation. A lot of clients that I work with, they say, well, okay, this is great. You can do this, this, and this, but is it going to be effective? I mean, don't forget that a lot of AI is not bringing the ROIs that we expect. Why? Why? Because a lot of people are not choosing the right models, the right approach, the right solutions, the right use cases, the right risk appetite. It's really, so governance is not about strongholding and is about enabling. So please change the approach. I did this sort of massive rethinking within Wipro, and they said, actually, we're talking about strategic capability. We're not talking about compliance. That is not compliance. We're talking about how we go to an organization and we help them innovate in the long term. So this is really important. Now, of course, you see me as a European, and immediately you say the word governance, you think about European AI Act, legislation. They want to stop everything. They want to, isn't that true? Is that what you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, the Europeans certainly lead in governing and regulating everything, and perhaps India follows pretty much a
But you've
step
just
behind.
done a deal with the European Union, haven't you?
Well, we look forward to seeing the benefits come to both sides, and yes, and with the United States as well. Let me take this further from a point that you made, and this is. You spoke about hallucinations and the world of agents. I give some key tasks to my agent or to a AI engine. There is a multiplicity of engines to choose from. Right now, it's the Wild West. Many of them, especially in the Indian context, are offering free services, I imagine, to suck up the data and train their models. If something goes wrong, who owns the risk? Who is responsible? Where do I see redressal? If you go through the normal system, a contract goes bad or somebody doesn't deliver a service in time, you go to the courts. Where do I have recourse as a citizen today?
Yeah, so I mean, there are different kinds of harms, no? So you can have a violation of your privacy sort of rights into this process, and then you have the privacy legislation in India, which has been now operationalized through the rules, and it's great that this legislation means a lot because it really makes India a wonderful place to do innovation with, because you have that certainty of the rule of the law from a privacy standpoint. Then obviously you have the responsibility and liability that these companies have. So they have sort of these liabilities that are enshrined normally in contracts, and so you can say, well, hey, so there's a breach of contract here, you have done, but it's true that a lot of these things you have to bear a lot of responsibility yourself. Like we're hearing cases where people are using these tools and they're just copying and pasting it, or they are using, and these systems, they hallucinate and they have put false clauses into them, and then they present them. And even organizations that we've seen saw recently in Australia, they were paid by a client to do a report, and they asked ChatGPT to do it. And of course, these systems hallucinate. And hallucination, by the way, is a strange word, because hallucination is very much human word, like humans hallucinate. In this case, we're not talking about humans, we're talking about sort of statistical and mathematical sort of randomness. So it's so it's a strange word, but basically this company in Australia, they presented this to the client and it was completely wrong, because they, if one of these tools they don't know, they make it up.
And Ivana, this is not an issue that is alien to us. The Supreme Court of India, no less, has just spoken about the fact that it's concerned about AI being used in in legal petitions, in paperwork, and I think it's a great concern. What can a country like India, where you have this massive number of users, many of the proprietary technologies overseas, those companies operate in India, what can we aspire to do in terms of a regulatory framework for AI? What should be the best case scenario?
So I would say don't do like what other countries are doing. You don't have to, right? It's really important. I mean, I saw when I was driving here this morning, I saw a poster, one of the many posters. I mean, you've invaded Delhi with posters about the AI summit. It's quite nice to see. So I saw one of the posters and said, it's the only one I saw with that. And he said, we're sort of dealing with AI in the unique way. And I felt, well, yes, exactly. That is what matters. No, you're not going to do things like in Europe, because Europe has got the European AI Act, which doesn't suit India. It's different. I mean, the European AI Act is an ex-ante legislation based on a culture that is completely different. That's okay. And the United States, they're acting in a different way. They're acting, I mean, don't think there is no regulation. It's regulation in another way. I mean, even imposing tariffs is a way of regulating.
Yes.
And and states, every single state in the US is regulating in its own way, especially when it comes to the use of AI in the labor market. So algorithmic systems that can hire and fire individuals. So India is doing, I feel, the right thing. And first of all, because, and I mean, we can't underestimate, I've seen this to all the commentators from America, from Europe I've been talking to, that I'm really annoyed that it's not covered as much as it should. This is the first summit happening in the Global South. This is incredible, incredible. The first one happening in the Global South, yeah? And in a place, and I feel that being a European, working for an Indian company as vice president, I feel that gives me a very different perspective on things. And so when I talk to them, I say, it's the first summit happening in a country that combines two elements. First, the ability to create digital infrastructure and scale up. I mean, I look at the fact that you've done things like UPI. And I'm thinking this is a country that can scale up digital infrastructure. Second, this is a country that is hungry to use technology, So when you align these two factors, that's really big. When you, on top of that, you add talent, and I know, because if I look at how many engineers and data scientists and people who have studied technology I have in Wipro, it's amazing. And the scale of expertise. So when you add all of this and you put it together, and you also look at the fact that you have the ambition, and I say this to the Western audiences that do not often understand because it's a different culture, and it's important to do that. And I say, the ambition of creating growth with AI to grow as a country, yeah? And the ambition to say, hey, we create 20% of the world data. We also want to leverage tools and use tools where we can speak the languages that we speak, that can reflect not just the culture of, for example, that is embedded into American created or elsewhere created tools, but also the ethical norms that in this country. This is where I think that is where all the potential of India comes from. So I wouldn't worry too much about these big LLMs. What I think is very important is the investment in data centers, the openness to the large corporations, obviously, and the investment that we're seeing, the tax relief for data centers is important because AI is not just technology. AI is earth, AI is materials, AI is conductors. People think AI is just technology. No. So investment. What is important is the creation, so the models, smaller models that can be trained and tuned to really with India data. So models, applications. We need applications that have real uses every day and that can be scaled across the country with trust, because this is where adoption happens, and with adoption, growth. And the last element on the regulatory side, the techno-legal approach chosen by India is a clever one. Very unique. It basically says, we're not going to do overarching regulation. We are going to do all-round accountability of AI, looking at the real impact in the world rather than ex ante, leveraging technology to solve some of the governance issues, which is good, and there is a lot that we can learn from this around the world. And this techno-legal approach is fundamental in a country like this because, as I said before, you've got to your strength is be able to scaling up this digital infrastructure across the country. So I think this is a good way of doing things. I would add the cooperation and global cooperation is also very important. I am glad that I live in Germany, where there is sort of strong cooperation with India. I see a lot of openness to India's talent, and vice versa is really good. This cooperation is important because we have to find technical and techno-social and techno-legal solutions to the future. And I want to close on one thing, if you allow me. A lot of people talk about AI capabilities. And it is important because they will increase and increase. We will be here probably or another part of the world in 1 year, and we will have even more AI capabilities. So I would suggest we've got to stop the focus. Of course, AI capability is important, but on the capacity that we have as businesses, as country, to absorb these capabilities and to govern them. Because this means, how are we going to govern the fact that you have deepfakes? And deepfakes are terrible for misinformation, but also they are terrible because they penalize the vulnerable people the most and women the most.
Yes.
Okay? So how we govern that step by step. So we see harms, we intervene, and we see if existing legislation is sufficient. If not, we come up with soft and hard legislation. We don't have to immediately come up with hard legislation also. I mean, in India, to legislate takes a lot of time. I mean, it's not like it's a democratic process. So it's step by step with the ambition that we want to leverage AI to make India stronger. And if we make India stronger, we make the rest of the world stronger too.
Absolutely, Ivana. In fact, the fundamental change that AI is bringing to society, to governance, to policy making, to every single field of human endeavor is humongous. And I would completely agree with you that learning to grapple with this, both in terms of the policy architecture, the governance factors, is a tremendous one. As I let you go, one quick 30-second kind of answer. Is there one risk that you think is being underappreciated in the Indian context? So, 400,000 people registered to visit the AI summit in India. You made that very important point. This is a country hungry for technology. We are an aspirational country. But is there one risk that is, according to you, underappreciated? Quick answer.
I think the one risk is the impact how AI is on women. And okay. I'm going to say this because I'm also the founder of an organization called Women Leading Artificial Intelligence. And it's not just about women participation into the coding side, because India's got 43% of women in coding.
Yes.
And in Europe, 19. So we've got a lot to learn from you. But is how that workforce present translates into power. And I think artificial intelligence has got enormous potential for women, but it also has the potential to reinforce existing stereotypes and inequalities into the systems. Okay. We've got to be very, very aware of this, and this is where I would like to see a lot of women participation into the discussion, not just coding, but also taking the lead on the policy side.
That's a very important point that we closed this session on. Just yesterday, we did a session. We were partnering with one of India's largest groups with 1,600 rural women. And they ran live pilots on utilizing various AI technologies. to do stuff, and I was amazed. And these were women from deep rural India, and the kind of work that happened. So I really take that point as one of the most important ones that you have said. Ivana, we are completely out of time. This conversation could have gone on for longer, but thank you very much for your time with us today.